My name's Emma. I've had the pleasure of working with Sarah Moore, I think for 7 or nearly 8 years now, and a current participant of the CLM, and so delighted to be able to join this morning and provide some support and assistance through this webinar.
Thank you, Emma. That's beautiful. Okay, can everyone see my slides? Awesome. Is it big enough for everyone? Awesome. Okay. Emma, if I can just get you to just keep an eye on the chat box, just in case I miss anything, because I've got lots of moving parts on my screen and I might miss something. So welcome everybody. This is our Brain Aligned Leadership with Slow Pedagogy in Early Leadership free webinar, and it's beautiful to have you all on board this morning. This is going to be a very relaxed and hopefully rejuvenizing webinar for you, that you're going to leave feeling calmer and more grounded and with some really thought-provoking content. That's my aim for today. So let's just start off our session today by honouring our land and the custodians and the connections that we have. I'm joining you from the Sutherland Shire this morning, which is the Darawal country, and I want to honour the Darawal people as the traditional custodians of this land. I pay my deep respects to the elders past and present, and to the stories and connections that continue to live through this country. We are gathering online today from many places across Australia and different countries, different skies, each of us carrying the of where we come from. As we meet, may we listen with our whole being. May we hold space for more than one way of knowing. And may we remember that learning is not just about content, it's about connection. Can we travel through the time and space we have together today with respect, curiosity, and a willingness to grow, knowing that in every conversation a story unfolds, and that within this shared space our thoughts, experiences, and ideas have the potential to weave together, forming something new and something none of us could shape alone. Okay, so I really want to welcome everybody, and a great place for us to start is to get to know each other a little bit in terms of who's in this space and who we're spending the hour with. So I'd love to invite you to share in the chat box your name, how you're feeling this morning, where you're from, what your role is, and how you know about us. And I know that we've got quite a few people that I've worked with over the years, but it'd be lovely to get a feel of where you're coming from in relation to linking into this webinar. So if I could get you to jump online in the chat box and share, that would be great. So I really encourage you, I'm not going to have time to read them all out, but I encourage you to read who we have in the space. You never know, there might be somebody that you didn't know was going to be joining that has actually jumped on and has got a similar interest to you around this important topic. So it's lovely to see we've got a whole array of people coming in from different places. We've got people feeling excited about the webinar. That's exciting. Keep them coming. We've got a couple of people from Emma's service have joined us. Lovely to have you from Far North Coast. Welcome, Philippa. We've got another one of our Conscious Leaders Mastermind program, the CLM program, that I'm going to mention a little bit more about today. Joining us. Awesome. Okay, keep them coming. So Emma and Jas, could you just share which service you're from? It'd be nice to know just whereabouts you're from. Hi, Renee. Renee's another participant of our CLM program. we've got a real mixture in this group of directors, room leaders, ed leaders, people coming across from Wagga. Ah, Emma and Jas. I should know you, shouldn't I? Because I've done training up there. Forgive me. My screen, the camera is so small, it's actually for me difficult to see everybody. Okay, so just welcome everybody. We've got people coming in from broadly right across New South Wales predominantly, and I know we might be seeing a few people from Queensland popping in as well. Kimberly, it's lovely that you've joined us. I am happy that you're here. Okay. Awesome. Keep them coming and keep an eye on the chat box just to see who your fellow learners are this morning. It's lovely to have you all coming into the space. Okay, so let me just quickly share a little bit about why I'm here and why I'm talking about this content. Because I think it's really important for you to get an understanding of where my knowledge comes from and what authority I have in relation to talking about this particular topic. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder of Educational Leadership, Early Educational Leadership, and my business has been running for many years now. It's a small business that's based in the Sutherland Shire. Back in 2019, I started studying under Judith E. Glaser, the founder of Conversation Intelligence. I had the good fortune of being mentored by her. She's based in the States. And a lot of the content that I'm going to be sharing with you today originates from there. I really would recommend that you check out Conversation Intelligence online if you want to know more about it. But it's really shaped the way I work. It's shaped the relationships I have. It's definitely shaped the way I run my business. And it really underpins a lot of the approaches that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Now, this content that I'm sharing has been shared now with many hundreds of early childhood leaders like yourselves. And I've had the good fortune back in 2019, I launched my Conscious Leaders Mastermind program, which is 6 years ago, which is quite phenomenal in that we're still running that program today. And many of the participants that are within that program, we've got quite a few people that have either participated or are still participating in the program, who are using a lot of the content that I'm going to be sharing. So the content is tried and tested. And I know that slow pedagogy is a fairly new concept in early childhood that is really taking the sector by storm for very, very good reason. But I also want to highlight that the leadership approach that I share is something that we've been working on quietly behind the scenes for many years now, which is predominantly around how we can be more conscious as leaders using some of the conversational intelligence tools that I'm going to be sharing with you. Excuse me. And conversation intelligence itself is a neuroscience way of communicating. It's backed with lots of evidence-based research, not by just Judith E. Glaser, but by a whole collective group of neuroscientists. Since she passed away, there's a movement of people that have been continuing to upgrade all the information, because obviously the world of neuroscience is moving at a rapid rate. And so although I certified in 2019, I've continued to study in the area. I upgrade my training and I get the most up-to-date neuroscience research, which influences what I deliver within my learning. Okay, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. So what we're going to explore today is, excuse me, I think that's the universe telling me to slow down. Why fast-paced leadership triggers a protect mode, how slowing down supports trust and regulation, and brain-aligned strategies for sustainable leadership and tools to improve tone, culture, and connection across teams. So, as we know, we can't get our time back. We've only got this hour once in our lives. So I think it's really important for us to think about how we can get the most out of this webinar. So as we're moving forward, I really invite you to breathe space into this session. Like, this is an hour that you can really slow down time and really focus on being consciously present. So I invite you now to take a couple of real deep breaths and to think about how you can really settle into your body, because your body has got an amazing amount of intelligence, which we often don't tap into. So I invite you just to really think about how you can do that. To let go of the consumption mind. So we're in a world where there's so much information, and if we're not careful, dopamine really takes over and we want to consume everything and gather the next bit of information. And a lot of what I'm going to share with you today is tuning into your wisdom. A lot of it is what you already know, and it's tapping into that, what you innately know feels right and is good for you and good for the people that you work with. So I invite you to remain curious. And as I said, listen through your body and your heart space if you can. So also listen to the questions I ask and allow spaciousness. So any questions that I pose through this session, there's no right or wrong answers. I just really encourage you to just tune in and think about them. And if there aren't words that come up, don't worry, just let the questions sit and read what some of the responses are that are coming up and see how those land with you. I invite you at the end of the session to stay after the webinar, not just to move straight into your days, actually just to pause for like 5 minutes if you can, and just write down some key things that you've taken away or that you want to move into or take on board in your leadership if you can. So we're going to launch into the content with a beautiful slide or a tool that was created by Judith E. Glaser, which really explains what happens when we're in a fast-paced environment and what happens when we're in a slower-paced environment. And quite a few of you will be familiar with this slide, but I really want you to just pause, because every time you look at this, you're going to take away something new. We're looking at this slide through sort of fast-paced, high-stressed environments versus slow, much more consciously aware environments in the early childhood space. So on the left side of the page, you're going to see the word distrust. And on the right side, you can see the word trust. Between each of these, there's different behaviours, some of which you might recognise and some of which you may not recognise, or you might not recognise in yourself, but you might recognise in your team members. So what I want you to do is look at the slide as I'm sharing this information and just let it wash over you and see what bits land and what bits don't. So we experience trust and distrust in two different parts of our brains, and they profoundly shape how we interpret conversations or how we have conversations. On the left side, we have protect mode, which is when we have an amygdala hijack or we're really highly stressed. And it's when the brain's fear centers take over, shutting down trust and higher thinking. It's when we have a cortisol hormone hit in our bloodstream, which moves us into survival mode. And that in itself puts us into protect mode, which makes us react before we're able to reflect, because we're literally in survival mode, making sure that we're okay and that we're safe, and we're not able to think more broadly or have a broader perspective. In conversations, this blocks connection, curiosity, and collaboration. We're wired for safety in these moments. And sometimes we can be in these moments for quite a long time. Like we can go for days, sometimes when we're highly stressed. And that's what our primal part of our brain needs us to do, because everything that's in our body, it's telling us, I'm not safe, I'm under threat, I need to protect myself. So that moves us into feeling rushed, under pressure, or triggered easily. And our brain just literally releases cortisol, the stress hormone. And cortisol prepares us to survive, not connect. We're not built in those moments to connect with the people that we're working with. And when this happens, we shift into what Glaser calls protect mode. And in protect mode, we are more likely to reveal less. These are the kind of behaviors that we move into: expect more, assume the worst, interpret through fear, tell secrets, or withhold information, become yes people just to keep the peace. We don't do this because we're bad communicators. We do this because our brain thinks we're under threat. And I think this is a really important point for us to consider, not only in ourselves, when we see these behaviors in ourselves, but when we see these behaviors in other people. It's not that people are deliberately trying to behave in these ways. They're behaving in these ways because they're in protect mode for whatever reason. So here's an example. A team member makes a decision without checking in, and you're already feeling like you haven't got everything done that day that you need to do, and you quickly respond, why didn't you run that past me first? Just a quick comment. It's said really in quite a rushed way, and even though the intention behind it is not to upset somebody, even that tone, even if said in a fairly neutral voice, is said in a way that's fast and frustrated. And those kind of comments or those types of communication can literally trigger in somebody else protect mode. They might withdraw, shut down, avoid accountability, or just say something like, it won't happen again, and quickly move on. But unfortunately, in those moments, that's where things go underground and people are feeling unsettled, but they're not necessarily sharing anything. Then we've got on the right side, when we feel safe and calm, and when we're sort of in a really connected space, our brain releases the neurochemical called oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone. And this opens our ability up to feel trust. It activates that part of our brain that moves us into trust. And it helps us co-regulate and engage more deeply, where we reveal more, expect less, over deliver. It's easy to do more and more things because we feel really good, but we feel really motivated. We assume the best. We interpret using facts, not fear. And we're much more likely to speak up more honestly, even about the hard stuff, the stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable, but we know that it's really important to share. So a colleague might bring you an issue that's sensitive, and instead of you reacting quickly, you might pause and say, thank you for bringing this to me, and create a space where they feel heard. Even if the problem's a tricky one to manage, the tone of your conversation stays open, and that openness invites trust, and trust leads to resolution, as we all know. So, in the chat box, I'd love you to share. If you're looking at the left side of this slide, what behaviours can you see in yourself when you're stressed? Which one do you most identify with? Just share in the chat box. No judgment. We've all got one that we tend to see very quickly in ourselves. We've got run down, tired, upset, short-tempered, people pleaser, reveal less, being a yes person, assume the worst, I tend to reveal less, shut down, assume the worst, assume the worst, assume the worst. I love assume the worst is a common one amongst us all. Less patience, yes person, reveal less. Assuming the worst is literally our brain trying to predict what's going to happen to keep us safe. So it's really clever what our brain does. It's like if we think about it, it's like surveying the environment to see, you know, is there anything out there that I haven't seen, that I haven't thought about, that I haven't covered? And then we're trying to work out what it is. So conversely, on the right side, I'd love you to share what behavior can you see in yourself when you're in that trust mode, when you're feeling that you can see things more clearly. I'd love you to share that too. Just got to assume the best, much more focused, feel relaxed, awesome, calm, relational thinking, look with an open heart, interpret with facts, beautiful, safe to share, reveal more, yes to confronting the truth. Okay, there's some brilliant shares. Thank you so much for sharing. This is a really important slide for you to use for yourself first and foremost, because it highlights for you what your natural tendency is to communicate when you're in a high stressed environment versus when you're not. It's also a really good visual tool to share with our teams, just to generate conversations in terms of normalizing what happens in us when we're working from a stressed space. Our internal states drive our conversations. This is a really important takeaway from today. If we're in protect mode, others feel it. Even if we're trying for others not to feel it, they will feel it. Emotions are contagious. Cortisol and oxytocin shape how teams interact. One closes us down and the other one opens us up. And the way we listen, we ask questions, the way we respond, we shape the trust culture our services have. Slowing down isn't just a kind thing that we need to do. It's not something that, in terms of when we're looking at slow pedagogy and thinking about the importance of slowing down with children, the reason I wanted to run this webinar is that this information highlights why we as leaders, why we with our teams need to help people think about how we're slowing down and the impact that it has on us, and how we function and how we communicate and how we behave has on the culture that we're creating within our services. Has anyone got any questions before I move on? If you're all good, can I just get you to just type in number 1 in the chat box? And then we'll keep moving forward. Is this helpful? Is this interesting? If it is, type in Y for yes. Good, just to see. If you've got any questions, please feel free to come off mute. If you've got a question, I'm happy to answer anything that you have. Please feel free to take a screenshot of that slide if that's something that you want to keep a copy of. Beautiful. Thank you, Emma and Jas, saying yes, totally interesting and validating. Awesome. I want to just stress, it's an important point that you raised there, Emma and Jas, is that this is validating because it explains why we behave in the way that we often do. And it helps us move out of judgment, and judgment itself puts people into a distrust mode. So when we're thinking about how our teams are communicating, it's a really helpful thing for us to go, where are we up to? And I'm going to talk more about how we can use some of these tools as we move forward. Andrew's saying, yes, just revisiting this model is so important. Absolutely. I use this all the time. And I can honestly say I never tire of that slide because it's just loaded with really valuable information. So when we lead from stress, this is what happens, amongst many other things. There's lots of things that happen. So when we're stressed, we have like 6 parts of our brain. And when we're stressed and we have an amygdala hijack, we literally lose access to our prefrontal cortex, which is our executive functioning part of our brain, and our limbic system and primal brain literally takes over. And here's the thing that I really want to leave with you just to think about. I don't have time to go into it today, but there's a lot of research that's now saying there is more information that goes from the heart brain to the head brain than the other way round. So when we're grounded and we're calm and we're connected to our bodies, we have heart intelligence that we can access. And this heart intelligence helps us to connect with other human beings. That's what we're built for. So it's another byproduct of being calm and grounded and really regulated, is we can tap more into the heart intelligence than our thinking brain. That, you know, we're doing so much thinking. Our heart brain leads more from our intuition. So when we lead from stress, this is what happens. Staff don't feel safe to speak up. If we're really stressed all the time, or they're working in stressed environments, they will start to shut down. The brain shifts into protect mode. And if you've got lots of side conversations happening in staff rooms where there's gossip happening and you sort of talk about things with your staff and you think you've got consensus and agreement, and then later on you hear that people are not happy with it, that's an indicator that people are in protect mode. It shuts down reflection, creativity, and learning. And that's what I'm mentioning. The executive function literally goes offline. You want to have yourself and your staff being able to access all parts of your brain. So you know that when people are in high stressed environments, they're not able to do that. Relationships are damaged even when we don't mean to. That's because sometimes we say things in ways that we don't mean. We're giving off energy of being disconnected or stressed that might not have anything to do with anybody else, but their brains are looking, am I safe? Am I not? Something's wrong here. And that will inadvertently create some stress in the relationship that you have with your teams or families. It creates a culture of protect and perform. So people will literally do all the behaviors that we've shared. And then, you know, it's all about me getting the job done because I need to do the right thing. I don't want to get into trouble, versus grow and connect, where we create a culture where it's okay for people to have a go, make mistakes, ask questions, even if they think they're silly questions, it's okay for them to do that. And they're really able to connect with people in authentic ways, not just in a functional job kind of way. It affects emotional well-being, trust, and long-term staff engagement. I can't stress that enough. People often come to me and talk to me about the staff are not engaged, motivation is low, and I can pretty much straight away go, are you seeing these types of behaviours? And they'll say yes. And that's an indicator to me that there's something going on in the service where people are not feeling safe. They're not feeling heard or understood for whatever reason. Okay, so how you are as a leader is how they feel. And I should add, how you are as an educator is how children feel you. How you are as a director is how children and families feel you. As leaders, we are co-regulators. Our energy shapes the room. It shapes the relationships we have with people. Calm leaders help others feel safe, open, and grounded. In every interaction, we're either amplifying connection or we're amplifying protection. This is really important for us to think about in any given moment. Am I amplifying connection with my staff and families and the children I work with? Or am I inadvertently, without conscious awareness, moving people into protect? And awareness is the key here. Slowing down helps the nervous system sync. So it helps us, you know, work, all those parts of our brain all work together instead of spiking cortisol, which, as I've said, takes the executive functions offline. Trust is built not by what we say, but how we are, our presence, like what our energy is doing, how calm we are, how regulated we are. I'm taking a breath. And this quote is one that I'm sure all of you have seen and heard and know to be true. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. Would you agree? Type in the chat box if you agree with that, if that resonates with you. Then why for yes? I love this quote. Think back now at a time you felt truly safe and truly supported by a leader or maybe a mentor. It doesn't have to be a leader. Was it the words they used, or was it something about how they held the space for you, or both? And Niketa said, yes, isn't that a big point of our job? Absolutely, absolutely. And it's often one that gets forgotten in the busyness of what we're trying to get through, what we're trying to accomplish. But just really want you to think about that in terms of your own leadership, how you show up. Sarah said both, and continued effort of helping you feel like it was a safe space. Absolutely. This is so important, and it's actually quite rare for us to really connect with people who we feel fully present with, who we feel fully seen by. They're people that we remember because it's very powerful. Words and how they come across, how they made me feel valued, beautiful, supported my ideas. And this is what our job is as leaders, more than anything, really, because, you know, the more our teams feel seen and heard, the more they're going to step up, the more they're going to be in that connect space, the more they're going to go the extra mile. So what slowing down looks like in leadership? What does it look like? It's creating space for presence, actually really thinking about our presence, taking a breath before responding to challenges, allowing others to finish their thoughts without interruption or rescuing. Now, allowing others to finish their thoughts without interrupting or rescuing is something that we very easily in our brains automatically, before somebody's even finished a sentence, we're trying to make sense of what they're saying, what the answer to their question is, how we can interpret what they're saying. And when we actually really slow down and listen to the words and listen to their energy and their responses, we're actually listening to connect with them from a real human being to human being perspective. It's really important, and people will feel this. If you're talking and you're jumping in your head to answering a question before they've even finished, they can feel that. They can feel almost like they're being judged. So it's about really being conscious in terms of how we're listening, inviting reflection. So you can do things like, let's take 30 seconds to think about this together. So we're partnering with them. We're in that high connection, listening to connect perspective. And we don't just see ourselves as the one coming up with all the right answers. We're co-creating answers with people. We ask open-ended questions, and we're listening without judgment or a response. So I'm just interested from all of you, which of these do you already practice, and which one might you do more as you move out of this webinar? If you could just share that in the chat box, that would be great. Peter said, open-ended questions. I would love to use the let's take 30 seconds to think about this together. It's honestly, it's transformative. Even if you think about receiving somebody saying that to you, Niketa, it just slows us down. Be curious and invite reflection. I have to do more. Don't we all, Angie? Don't we all? Already ask open-ended questions and still working on pausing and allowing people to finish, because as you said, it's me trying to make sense of the conversation. Awesome. And I want to add, Sarah, it's also something we've been talking about in the Conscious Leaders Mastermind program around our belief that we as leaders have to have all the answers, and the disservice that does to our teams. Even if we do know the answers, if we just are on autopilot with answers all the time, it's an opportunity missed to connect with people and help people think for themselves. Ask open-ended questions, working on it. I'd love to create more space for presence. It gets tricky in the busy day. Absolutely, Michelle, but it's about being consciously aware. We're there one way or another, whether we're present or whether we're not. It's about choosing what we're stepping into. Philip is saying listening, pausing, sometimes or maybe most times we can work through an issue if we're supported to unpack it. Absolutely. Alison said allowing people to finish what they're saying. Beautiful. We'll work on pausing a bit longer and listening for others to finish and be curious for longer before responding. Beautiful, Kate. This also gives us time and creates spaciousness within us. It actually makes us, if you actually think about that, it actually gives us more mental capacity to come up with different answers and a different way of being. Philippa says, what else and what else and now what? I still use this. Beautiful. So there's a question Philippa uses of what else can we do? What else can we do? What else are we not looking at? What else are we not seeing in this? And open-ended questions, listening without judgment or feeling the need to give a response. There's some beautiful shares there. Thank you so much. So let's move into some more sort of real practical takeaways for you that you can try. So micro practices for brain-aligned leadership. These are just really small and sometimes quite obvious small shifts that create a big impact through our presence, connection and calm, and it can calm leadership under pressure. So the first one, which we all know, and we all, not necessarily all of us, but the majority of us often forget that we have available to us wherever we go at any time of day, is the reset of the breath. And all that is just consciously, if something's or somebody's coming at us or we need to do something, is to consciously take a deep breath. It's like it just creates space before the reaction. And it just slows us down from being in reactivity mode to being responsive. So just simply the breath. Name and normalize. Now, I love this because this is one of Judith's famous sayings, which is making the invisible visible. And this is naming the energy that is in the space. So this could look like, I'm feeling a bit stressed today and I'm needing to calm down. What that does, if we say that to our staff, we're normalizing it, but we're also acknowledging it and making it okay for people to say that's what you're feeling. Or it could be, I've got a lot on today and I'm feeling a little bit distracted. What that does is it tells their brain, this is what I'm feeling from you anyway, and you've just languaged it. And from their brain perspective, it lets them, I'm okay, everything's calm. This isn't about me. You're not rushed because of anything to do with me. You've got stuff going on. That just really makes the invisible visible. And then the third one is consciously choosing your energy. So I hear all the time in early childhood, people say, I'm so stressed, I've got a lot on. I'm so busy, there's not enough time. And my invitation for you is to consciously watch yourself do that and just give yourself permission to choose the energy you want. So if you're choosing to be stressed and busy, that's fine. That's the energy you're choosing, but make a choice about it and be aware of the impact that energy has on other people. So, which of these micro practices could make the biggest difference in how you lead this week, just this week? I'd like to invite you to share that in the chat box. Reset the breath. I think this is super powerful. It totally is. And it's something we all forget. I forget it all the time. I'm reminding myself all the time. Resetting the breath. I have a great quote on my desk. Don't adapt to the energy in the room. Influence the energy in the room. It makes a huge difference. Beautiful share, Kate. Thank you. Sarah said, name and normalize, giving space for people to speak their emotions. Consciously choosing my energy. Choosing my energy. I can't always feel the hardest. Sorry. Oh, it's moving up again. I can't change. It certainly feels the hardest, actually. It feels usually to speak about feelings lately. Okay. We check in with each other every day to name how we're feeling. I will work on choosing my energy. Beautiful. I name and normalize how I'm feeling. Beautiful. Excellent. So I encourage you just to write that down and make that as a personal choice that you're moving forward with this week. And just at the end of the week, just see what difference it's made. Just use it as a little bit of a micro practice experiment. Small shifts, big impacts, tools to strengthen culture and connection. Now, we're obviously very limited in terms of time today, but I wanted you to walk away with some clear takeaways. There is an opportunity to learn much, much more deeply around some of these techniques and how to apply them and embody them into your leadership. But let's just, before I dive into that content, just share some of these really valuable small shifts. I would love it if any of the CLM or any of the online conscious leaders participants have any shares around this. You want to come off mute, say, yes, I've been doing this over the last few years and this is the difference it's made. Please feel free to jump in, because there's nothing better than you hearing from other professionals how these tools work and the impact they have. So in the work that I do, I talk a lot about prime for trust in lots of different ways. There's loads of different ways we can do that. I have a whole program on priming people for assessment and rating. But in this context today, I'm going to be talking about prime for trust before a conversation. So the first thing that we need to do is, when we're going to have a difficult conversation with somebody, is take that breath and check in with your intention. Ask yourself, what do I want to create in this interaction? What do I want this person to walk away with after this conversation? And just as Judith sort of famously said, our conversations begin before we speak. They say everything. The way we approach a conversation, the way we move into a room, our tonality, our energy. So just think about that in terms of how you're priming yourself before a conversation. I talk enormously about relationships before tasks. We don't have enough time to go into a lot of detail about this one today, but what I want to share is, so often in leadership, we dive straight into the problem, we dive straight into the conversation, we dive straight into the job that we're needing to do without making a human connection with the person that we're working with. It doesn't take a lot, just how are you? It's just, what it does is it neurologically says, I see you, you're valuable to me, I care about you. Don't assume that because you care about somebody, they don't need to be told. They absolutely, repeatedly need to be told, or need to be given a sense that they matter and that you care. Use what and how questions instead of why. The why opener to questions really neurologically triggers people. It's quite an accusatory word. So it's really helpful to be using the words what and how. We can do this by how can we move forward together, rather than why did you do that and why are we going to be working on this in this way. It's a lot more of a gentle approach. Name the tone without judgment, which is what I've mentioned a couple of times, which is all about naming the emotion that is present in the room. You know, if you're walking into a staff meeting and you're feeling that people are uncomfortable or they're in judgment mode or they're stressed, is actually to say, I could be wrong, but I'm feeling people are feeling a bit stressed this morning or this afternoon. How's everyone going? It just labels what's happening. Get super curious. Curiosity is a superpower of leaders. For leaders, that is one of the most underrated tools in your toolkit. Get really experienced at asking great questions. Don't assume you understand what people are saying, and don't assume your perspective is correct, because I can pretty much guarantee what you're seeing isn't necessarily what other people are seeing. And even if it's similar, you and I are seeing things that are similar. For you to inquire what it is I'm seeing actually helps me feel more seen and more heard and more understood. And then the last one, create team energy check-in moments. So just constantly be going, how are you going? How's your day going? You know, you're looking really beautiful today. How's your world? Like, just check in with people. It's a real connection point, and it moves us from being transactional and always talking about work and talking about the things that need doing and the focus of where somebody's going next, to just being really present and actually connecting with people in a really personal way. So that's a lot of information I've just shared with you, quite a lot of which I'm sure there's a mixed bag in there of some of which you already know that you may have forgotten about, some new information, some reminders, and things that you already do. But does anyone have any questions, or do they want to share? Do any of the CLM want to share about any impacts that they've had with any of those? Be lovely to hear from someone. Just jump off mute if you're happy to share.
I'm happy to, Sarah.
Thanks, Angie.
I think with all the work that I've been doing with you and some of our team have been doing with you in our leadership work and coaching, the get super curious that has really that particular just being curious has just helped in so many ways. It's got me out of so much trouble just by being curious. So I would you know, encourage everyone just, and not to make it a joke. It's, you know, it's important that it's not seen as a joke, but it's serious, but it's, you know, just being curious. It's magic.
What would you have done before, Angie?
Before not using that, being curious, are you saying, or?
Yeah.
I probably feel that I was more a person of seeing things that my way and not seeing it in other people's way. So that being curious, you're actually opening up that invitation to say, oh, I thought it was this, but you're saying it's this. Is that right? You know, so it's allowing that connection without being judgmental. And in my eyes, I need to, you know, it's really shifted how, and the other leaders have taken that curiosity on too in their own rooms. And I think it just opens up so much space for being creative.
Beautiful, which is all the partnering mode. It's all of the high trust behaviours that we're wanting in the workplace. That's a beautiful share. And I think, Angie, not putting words in your mouth, but would you say that the curiosity actually helps you slow down?
Yes, it does. Well, it gives you time to it gives you time to pause without you actually intentionally knowing you're doing that, and maybe to breathe too. It's something that I've got to work a little bit more on. I've lost my breathing apparatus at this point. But anyway,
I hope you haven't, otherwise you'd be dead. We never lose it. It's always with us. We just we become unconscious with it. It comes and goes, and we focus on it at different times. That's a beautiful share, Angie. Thank you. Does anyone else want to jump in?
Can I share something, Sarah? Something that's been really valuable that you shared with our whole staff a few years ago in terms of being curious, has given us a common language to use, and that's just the phrase of double clicking. And I hear lots and lots of people now saying, oh, can I just double click on what you just said? And I think that's a beautiful way that we've learned as a team to be really curious with each other and to feel we have a skill through those words, a way of doing that, because it can feel a bit sort of awkward sometimes going back and asking what that meant and not wanting to offend anyone. So that was beautiful language that you gave us to use, and a beautiful tool with each other.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lovely segue for me, because that's what I've shared is the curiosity. The double clicking tool Kate has mentioned is an actual conversation intelligence tool, and it's based on neuroscience, and it's the kind of tool, as there are many of them that I share in the programs that I do, that I'd just love to share a little bit more information about in a minute. But thank you. That's and I'm so happy you're using it. And the double clicking tool, basically, if you imagine neurologically, our brains are like a filing cabinet, and often in our teams we use a word. Like a really good example of this is when I do the assessment and rating program I run, we double click on the word assessment and rating, because in conversation intelligence we talk about words create worlds. And if I say to you assessment and rating, all of you will create a picture. It's a very they're charged words, obviously, for early childhood professionals. It creates pictures in your heads that you're creating. Now, what we often do in teams is that we think, if I say assessment and rating, all of you are thinking exactly the same thing. No, you're not. You're thinking different things based on your experience of assessment and rating. And the double clicking activity that I teach actually helps teams to start unpacking the thinking behind some of the common phrases and the words. Like, even if somebody says, I'm really angry, Kate, with you about this, you could say something like, like, I can hear you're really angry. Explain to me what you mean by you're angry. Tell me what that actually means to you. Because we use so many common words and we automatically assume that our meanings are exactly the same. And Judith talked about, there's research that's been done that 90% of the conversations we have are misheard or misunderstood. 90%. So if you think about that, these tools really help slow things down, make us present, make us hear more accurately. And the byproduct of that is teams feel they're better supported, better understood, their well-being is increased, they're happier, healthier employees, basically. So thank you, Kate. That's a lovely segue into some important bits of information that I can pop into this session, which is really good. So all of you hopefully will have access to my Space Between Us, the leadership handout. that's a resource that you can use literally to start some really healthy conversations with your team about some of the things that we've talked about this morning. And I could go into a whole process of how to prime your teams to do that, but we don't have time today. But that's a really good place. And as always, before you ask any questions of your team, please sit down and answer those questions yourself first. Get your own position, your own perspective on it first, what it feels like, where the challenges are, etc. Because whatever you feel, a lot of your team will feel too, are in relation to those questions. So, wrapping up, we have just launched a 10-month program for early childhood leaders who are keen to learn more about this way of working in their leadership. I'm really proud of this program in the sense that it's been, over 6 years in the making. It's an opportunity for you not just to learn in an hour, but for you to embody these skills. It will change you. It will change you as a leader in quite profound ways. The people that work with me in my Conscious Leaders Mastermind program, I have many people in that program who've been with me for 6 years because they say, we can never stop doing this work. It's like an onion. You just keep peeling back more and more and more. And what's so pleasurable is we see the changes in services because leaders are doing this work. They are slowing down. Their health is increasing because their well-being has improved because of some of the learnings that we share. In brief, the program's for 10 months. It's kicking off in July and runs through to August next year. We have some beautiful, really experienced mentors that are directors who are part of the program and who are going to be working alongside the participants throughout the 10 months, providing mentor, giving examples of how you use these tools. So you not only learn about them, but you experience them. Because obviously a lot of what we share is experimental. You've got to feel it to really cognitively understand it. You get an learning platform with replays and resources, monthly peer mentoring sessions, which are 90 minutes long. So we keep the group sort of moving through the year all together. We've got 2 days of personal training, which is in August in Cronulla in New South Wales, and the program starts on the 21st of July. So registrations close on the 11th of July, and if you want to know more about the program or whether it's a good fit, you can go into my website and register either for a discovery call or just register straight away. It's up to you. But if you wanted to just check in with me and have a chat to see if it's the right fit or you have questions, in the follow-up email, we'll be sending a link through as well. Okay, so I just wanted to leave that with you as a thought process for you to have a think about. And just as we wrap up on the hour, I really just want to thank you for your time today. We've explored what it means to lead in a way that's brain aligned, relational, and deeply attuned to your emotional climate of your teams. Slowing down isn't just about pace, it's about creating safety, clarity, and presence. And I think you'll agree, our tone, our energy, our conversational habits shape culture more than our policies ever will. Like, we are in a relationship-based business. This is our bread and butter. If we don't have strong relationships, we don't have anything. So those simple micro practices like the breath, a question, or a moment of curiosity can really create a ripple effect. And how your presence not only really just positions you in a really strong way, it really helps you as a leader too. So in the chat box, I would love, as we wrap up, for you to answer these questions. What was one insight or idea you've taken away from today? What landed or lingered for you? And is there anything you'd like more of in the future? And I'm going to let you type those in. I'm also going to hang on a little bit at the end. If anyone's got any questions, please feel free to stay on. But it would be lovely to hear what sort of landed with you, what key takeaways you've had. Feel free to come off mute if you want to, if it's quicker than typing and you're on the run. And don't forget to just pause before you run into the next thing at the end of the session. So Alison said, slowing down will support connections. Beautiful. I really want to prioritise being more fully present for my team, consciously creating space and timing in the roster for them to be heard. Beautiful. Resetting my breath and pause for a moment. That is definitely one thing I need to do the most. A busy room creates stress. Slowing down helps me see things clearer and be able to support what's needed. Slow down, breathe, connect, listen, prime, keeping peeling that onion. Beautiful, Philippa. My biggest takeaway is that you can consciously choose the energy. This can shift the whole perspective. Absolutely, Lydia. Beautiful. Keep them coming. Please feel free to keep them coming. Thanks, Sarah. Great to spend moments to revisit these concepts, constantly trying to prioritise slowing down and being present. Beautiful, Kate. Double click, slow down and take time to connect. Beautiful. Excellent, everyone. Our energy speaks before we do. Absolutely, it does. Relationships before tasks, work of fostering creativity. Beautiful, Leanne. Slow pedagogy is something we have been exploring with the whole team, children included. What landed with me the most from today is consciously choosing my energy. There is always more I'd like to explore further after your session, Sarah. Beautiful. More information goes from the heart to the brain. Great pickup. And to the other direction. That was a really nice way to reposition my thoughts and created a nice visual in my mind. Beautiful share, Kimberly. Lovely. Okay, everyone. As I say, keep in touch. I am going to just hold on for a couple more comments to come through. Thanks again for being with us today and for leaning into this conversation. I hope something has landed for you or that it's confirmed something that you already knew. These small shifts can make a huge difference, believe me. So keep an eye on your inbox and I'll be sending a link to the replay and a little more about the Dandelion project and how to schedule a free discovery call if you're interested. So please feel free to say goodbye to each other. And if you want to stay online for some questions, please feel free to. I'm going to now stop the recording. And I look forward to being in your inbox very, very soon. Take care, everyone.